We are Heather and Paul Christie.
And for over 12 years, we've worked with executives and entrepreneurs to accelerate change in every aspect of their business.
Because we are in the fastest paced business environment that anyone has ever seen before.
So join us for the Evolve to Win show. Welcome to another Evolve to Win show with Heather and Paul.
Good morning.
How are you, Heather?
I'm great. How are you, Paul?
Good. So you have an amazing story to tell us, and it actually got like some huge pub, at least from the company that you're going to talk about.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
Right. Every week we do this Evolve to Win show on Facebook Live, Monday mornings at 11:30 Eastern. And then our producers actually recreate that into a podcast that we do in partnership with Gulf Shore Business. And it's also published then by video on the Wooditch Network. And every week that we bring this to you, we want to share examples of extraordinary leadership. We want to help everyone be as successful as you can with your own leadership within your organizations. And this week, the story that I have is really pretty awesome. So,
and I love this story because it's a we can talk a lot about theory here, but when you actually have something happen and somebody truly makes a difference and really turns your attitude around about a company, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah, it really doesn't get any better than this. So a couple weeks ago, I was in Chicago. I was on a 3-state tour on business from Phoenix to Chicago to Boston. And when I flew into Chicago, I flew into O'Hare. And when I flew out of Chicago, I flew out of Midway. So, Paul and I are from Chicago, and I've flown into Midway and O'Hare countless number of times. And one of the reasons that I love flying into Midway is because they have the car rental on airport. Although it's been a number of years since I've actually rented a car there because I'm usually just hopping in an Uber. So when I went to return my car so that I could make my flight to Boston so I could speak for the Society for Human Resource Management in Boston, I just said, okay, Google, take me to the Hertz rental car return at Midway Airport. And Google, unfortunately, got it wrong. And they brought me to the old car rental return, the one that I'm familiar with, which...
That's why I use Waze.
Okay, so this could be, this could be an ad for Waze for sure, because it's more up to date. But, when I saw the location that Google Maps was taking me to, and it was on airport, I was like, that's perfect. So I get to the airport, and of course, I didn't leave myself a lot of extra time, which wouldn't surprise you for sure. So I pull up to my rental car return that is supposed to be there, and there's no rental car return. There's nothing. And there were really no signs on airport that was telling me what I was doing wrong. So luckily, I was talking to Paul on the phone at the time and saying, where the heck is the rental car return? Right, that's exactly how I said it.
Right.
Maybe just slightly more agitated and frustrated. In any event, I've got him looking up the rental car return while I'm now on my third loop around the airport. I see one sign coming out of Midway saying rental car left 2 lanes, but it was going the other direction, so I got back in the terminal lane. So on my third trip around, I've just about lost my mind. And now I'm facing missing my flight on top of it, and who knows when I'm going to get the next flight, and I've got a speaking engagement. So those of you who understand my stress, it really like...
And let's be honest, I drive you around everywhere. I'm like your personal chauffeur.
Well, usually we're traveling together.
You're not used to driving anywhere.
Not
You're like
really.
some pampered princess that gets...
Oh, come on. You do drive all the time because we usually travel together, but I was solo on this mission.
Yeah, and you really
do,
for whatever reason, even with Google Maps and with Waze, it almost seems like you still need a co-pilot there to really help you, because you got to be on your game to watch what's going on the screen, on the nav, on your phone, and then also to like where you're turning off, because I always turn off too early.
Yeah, if you're just listening to the voice, it can get kind of stressful. So anyway, it didn't help that I had the wrong information plugged in. When I stopped up at the, so I was at departures, going around the top. I stopped and I asked one of the women there, where are your rental returns? Where did they go? And she's like, oh, they moved those off airport. I said, okay, great. How do I get there? And she said, well, which one are you going to? And I said, Hertz. And she said, oh, I think it's this address. Now at this point, I can't afford one more loop around. So then Paul gives me the address. as I'm driving, I'm plugging in the address because, of course, the woman will not let me pull over to plug in the address because that's against the rules. In any event, I finally make it in. I pull in on 2 wheels into the Hertz return. And at this point, like on a scale from 1 to 10, my frustration level's probably a 9.9. Like I was so frustrated. And when I pulled in, there was this man who was working at Hertz who had this big ass smile on his face. And he's like, how was your ride in this morning?
Was he a younger guy or was he an older guy? What is it? Like, describe what he looked like.
Okay, so he was, I'm going to say maybe his 60s. And I only know that, like, I'm not a great judge of age, but I only know that from what I found out later. So I'll tell you why I think that. But yeah, so he was older than I, but just had this big, huge smile on his face. How was your ride in this morning? And I was like, oh, it really wasn't good. I was so frustrated. I said, when did you guys move off airport? And why aren't there any signs? He's like, oh, ma'am, I'm sorry. I know. I said, I'm about to miss my flight. In fact, I think I'm missing my flight. And as I'm kind of talking to him and he's just like beaming with this positive energy, I'm pulling my luggage out of the car and he goes, ma'am, put your luggage back in the car. And I didn't know, I didn't understand. Like, am I in the wrong lane? Do I have to now move my car somewhere? Ma'am, put your luggage back in the car. I'd like to take you straight to your terminal. You can't miss your flight. We got to get you there. And, seriously, like in that moment when you're at this level of frustration and worried about like everything that's about to happen next, I was much more worried about what was happening next than what was happening in the moment.
Sure.
When he did that and he said that, now I've been traveling a lot for a lot of years, right? So back in the day, I was a road warrior. I've rented so many cars. I've missed flights. I've come close to missing flights. I've had troubles with rental car in the past. I've never had someone do that for me before. And I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced this before, but he actually helped me get all my luggage back in the car. He told somebody else, hey, you got to cover for me. I'm headed to the terminal. So somebody else comes over and takes his spot. And he just jumps in and he directs someone else. You got to move here and move here so I can get this car out because I'm already in line.
Yeah.
And then he starts driving me to the airport. And like my stress level, my tension level literally just went whoosh and just went away. And I started to feel like I was going to tear up a little bit because I couldn't even comprehend the fact that a frontline employee, number one, made that decision without even asking anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant that either he's just so extraordinary that he will make that decision and risk whatever it takes to take care of the customer, or more likely he was empowered by Hertz to be able to make that decision and take control and provide the customer an extraordinary customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're driving, I just started chatting with him. I said, so what's your name? And he said, oh, ma'am, he said, my name's William. And I said, what's your full name? Because of course I wanted to write that down. And he said, oh, you'll find it funny. My last name is Dangerfield. So he gives me his name and I'm writing it down. And I just asked him, I said,
forget that.
No, you can't forget that. It's a perfect name. I asked him, so I can't be the first person that you have done this for. And he said, no, ma'am. He said they moved the rental car return off airport about 5 years ago, and the city just hasn't kept up with the signage, and a lot of people miss it, and a lot of people are concerned. And I'm sure a lot of people use Google Maps, and if they do, good luck with that.
Wow.
Because you're not going to find it.
Yeah.
So apparently there are all these issues, but Midway just hasn't gotten around to fixing them yet. So he's kind of used to this drill of having to take care of customers. And then I come to find out that I said, well, how long have you been working at Hertz? He said, I've been working here coming up. He said, this month is going to be my 20th anniversary.
Wow.
So 20 years at Hertz. And he told me that he had already retired from the post office prior to that.
Oh,
so he'd had a full career. And I said, so what made you go back to work and work for Hertz? And he said, because I get to meet just incredible people like you. So on top of it, he's, just such a lovely person, right?
Yeah.
So he does this job in retirement just because he wants to continue to provide service and to interact. And when I was asking him, why he did that for me, he said, I want to make sure that you have such a great experience here at Hertz that you'll always come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that is incredible that of all of the employees that you come across in a day, some are just there giving whatever service they think they should. And then there's people like William who go so above and beyond that they actually create customer loyalty from the front line.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because do you think that protocol for Hertz is to do that? Or do you think it's to just get people out of their cars as quickly as possible, get them moved out and...
Based on my past experience, I've rented from Hertz pretty much. I always rent from Hertz whenever there's an option that's even remotely reasonable. I'll pay more money to rent from Hertz.
Because you're a gold card member.
I'm a number one gold, and it's really nice to show up and have the car already there. So yeah, I've been renting from Hertz for years and years and years. But like I said, nothing like this has ever happened before. So no, I don't think that that's standard operating procedure. I think that William was empowered to be able to make that decision and do what he did at some level.
But it's one thing to be empowered. It's another thing to take action on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because
it's easy not to.
It would be so easy for him to have just said, oh, let me help get you processed really fast.
Right.
But he didn't do that. So what is it about William that had him make that decision? You know what it is? It's leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Mark Sanborn would say, you don't need to be a title to be a leader. And I completely support that thought, because William showed extraordinary leadership for Hertz when he did that. So let's just talk about what the impact of that was. Okay, so there's definitely a personal impact on us as customers, right? Because you and I are loyal Hertz customers. And there are lots of car companies to choose from, and they get competitive at times, and you could easily go one way or another. So I believe what William did is really solidified our loyalty as a family to using Hertz as a rental company. And we travel a bit. I mean, we're not going to make or break their numbers.
Well, yeah, but during this whole situation, I remember you being so frustrated at a point where you were like, I'm considering giving up Hertz. I mean, I may change. It's all not worth it. Like, just the inconvenience of not having the signs up and all these things. It's just, when you're traveling, it's stressful enough, let alone having that happen. So this one was, because it was like kind of perfect timing, because it was, you were on the fence. And how many customers are on the fence? And sometimes when that doesn't happen, you never know. Like, you would never know when a customer's on the fence, when they're thinking about, this is my last time, this is the last, or this is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
And for you to have that experience with William actually changed the way that you view that company now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And there were two reasons why I was on the fence with Hertz. First, I had an issue with my number one gold number, and it wasn't getting plugged in. So
right.
And you know what? I got to say, at the end of the day, it was probably user error, but it wasn't easy to get that fixed. But the second one was, initially when I was doing the roundabout at Midway multiple times, I was thinking that it was Hertz's issue for not getting their stuff updated with Google Maps. Like, how doesn't that happen?
Mm-hmm.
But it was because I was in a moment of frustration, of course, and the natural thing you do is, look for, all right, who's responsible for this problem other than me, because I didn't plan ahead and know where I was going.
Yeah.
So in the moment, I was not jumping up to take personal responsibility. And so, I do think that at some level, he definitely rescued this customer and made me a very loyal follower. But let me tell you, so let me give you the rest of the story.
But that's what, and I think the key takeaway for this is that we can have companies can have the greatest technology. They can have automation. They can have everything up to date. They can have their Google Maps thing up to date, and it makes it very convenient. But truly what makes the difference are the people.
Absolutely.
And it always
100%.
will be that way, especially as we start to move into this, the whole AI thing, which is going to happen over the next 20 years. And we'll see a lot more automation happen and a lot less people in positions. It's truly, we need people contact. We need people that want to make a difference. And that's truly what I think is going to make the difference in the future for, our experiences with companies and why we gravitate more to certain companies than others.
Yeah.
These little touches that make the biggest difference.
It is. And let's just start off with, and I know it sounds so basic, but we have to start off with his smile. I mean, honestly, when you meet up with a customer who's in this, like, I was in meltdown mode, right? I was in a frenzy. And the fact that he didn't like bring his energy down because of mine, that's what's normal human nature, right? You see somebody who's all stressed out and you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Instead, he's just being so pleasant that you couldn't help but smile back at him, right? So let me tell you what I did. Once William dropped me off at the airport and I thanked him profusely, I gave him a tip and he was trying to give it back to me. Like he didn't even want to accept that form of gratitude. And I was like, oh, no, you will take this. But yeah, he wasn't even after a tip, which is just amazing. I got on my Facebook account and I just wrote up the story because I was just so impressed. And when I wrote up the story, I also tagged Hertz as part of that story and just shared with him. Oh, you know what I did? Actually, I shared on Facebook my feedback because Hertz sends a customer service or a customer survey back. How was your experience? And they even had in one question, is there anybody that you'd like us to acknowledge for exceptional service? And I'd already written about him early on because I didn't know if I was going to get the chance. I went back and I copied and I pasted that in. And so what I did is I reposted the story and the information that I shared with Hertz. And what's funny is, so I said that because of his service, I was able to make my flight and do my speaking engagement. And, that he is such a great example of leadership and overall human kindness that I plan to use this story in future leadership presentations for what strong leadership is. And then I said, P.S., I also think that William should get a big anniversary bonus because he had told me that he was celebrating his 20 years that month. So here's what I get back from Hertz, which, okay, this is the rest of the story that I think is so cool. It's like leadership karma, right? So I get an email in from Hertz, first of all, saying, hey, thank you so much for sharing your story. If you would share with us your gold number, we'll make sure that it gets back to the right individual. So they wanted to actually look up my number and make sure that they had the right person at Midway. So I gave them my number and then they wrote back to me again and thanked me for sharing my experience. And of course, not only when I shared the experience on Facebook, I don't know how we got so many likes from that particular share and people just chiming in. Unfortunately, a lot of what you heard is that's not what my experience usually is with other car companies. And so not only did he shift us, he shifted other people who read this story. They're going to try Hertz now if they haven't, or they're going to go back. But I then get this email from Hertz Corporate that says, Dear Miss Christie, I wanted to follow up with you in your response to your really cool Facebook post about your amazing experience with William at Midway. I note your suggestion about an anniversary bonus. So in addition to our traditional anniversary rewards, we are thrilled to have the opportunity, based on your great feedback, to do something extra special. Last week, our zone vice president for the Chicago region confirmed to me that he was going to go there this week and make a really big deal of this locally. It will also be my pleasure to share this recognition for William in my internal newsletter, where all our best customer shout outs are shared with our front line. So how cool is that? I mean, a company as big as Hertz, now they happen to be right in our backyard, right? So they're right in Estero, Florida. But they're paying attention on social media. They saw the shout out. They not only recognized it, they connected it with me personally and with my number. They actually even gave me a free car rental to thank me for sharing my great experience. So thank you for that, Hertz. But then in addition, a company that size to go full circle and bring somebody really important into his office and play this all up. I don't know if they ended up sharing my Facebook post exactly or what they did. I just wrote back to Laura today to find out. But this is something that, again, I think when you show this kind of leadership, you make this kind of impact, that's what gets people talking. It's what gets people coming back and creates a loyalty. And just that conversation back and forth with Hertz Global shows me that they care about this type of employee showing this extraordinary leadership.
Well, and it's the old like average customer service.
Who do you tell?
Who do you tell? Nobody,
one.
Right?
Yeah.
Horrible customer service. Who do you tell?
Everyone.
And extraordinary customer service, who do you tell?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you think about what it takes to be like William, that's our thing, hashtag be like William. I think Michelle Stimson put that on her response. What does it take to be like William? In any business, the front line are those employees who are dealing with customers day in and day out.
Yeah.
They are often dealing with customer complaints, right? So they're in a tough spot. And the way that you lead those frontline employees and the way that you empower them to provide extraordinary customer service, that is what makes all the difference.
Yeah. So hopefully this story, if you've listened to it and you have direct reports, or you're somebody that can at the front line where you can make a massive difference, it's not the normal process or the way that you've been trained that makes all the difference. That's important, but that's like what you're being paid to do in your job, right?
Yeah.
It's the extraordinary thing. So hopefully your company allows you to be able to have the freedom and the liberty to be able to, and mistakes come along with this too. When you give people freedom to be able to do things, there's always that chance that it could break bad and it turns even to a worse situation than it was. But you can't be, I personally would rather have somebody have the freedom to be able to make an impact on somebody in a positive way and have the risk of that, a low risk of it being a negative impact, just for the fact that something like this could happen.
Well, and you think about what social media has done with this experience and how many people have seen this, because I saw Joe Nugent says, I can't wait to share this with my hotel staff. So he's a manager at a hotel in Southwest Florida. And he's going to use this as a training experience by sharing this story with his staff. And so I think that's a great idea, Joe. And for those of you out here who are in leadership positions, what's one thing that you could do with your frontline staff today to really get them to be more like William, right? And if you happen to be on the front line, what are some things you think you could do to add just that little bit of extra customer service? And again, starts with the smile. Even when somebody's in a bad place, how you hold that energy and you stay positive. The smile literally can be powerful enough to turn the mood around just at a baseline. So
totally.
Anyway, so happy to be able to share this story. So happy to have had that experience, and look forward to hearing any other feedback. If you have any extraordinary customer service stories,
we would love to hear
those.
them. That would be awesome. We'd actually talk about them as well.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in finding out a little bit more leadership information, you can always go to heatherchristie.com and sign up for Heather's leadership list. And with that, you get her top leadership books that she recommends for reading. I mean, if you don't know where to start, then that's a great book list. So you'll get that along with it. And we always want to thank you and appreciate the fact that you've watched or listened to our Evolve to Win show. And you have yourself a great day.
Have a great day. And please share with us any of your extraordinary customer service stories. Love to hear them.